What a nice group. Look at them all coming back now. They were way out at that fence and they're coming back. They're running. Don't fall, please, nobody. We had an administration that fell a lot, and we don't want to have that. We don't want to have any of that. Well, I'm delighted to welcome to the White House the thousands of proud American patriots, and that's what you are, you're patriots. You know, we've never done this before. You know that, right? This is the first. They didn't do it. The previous administration wouldn't have thought of doing it. But we're going to do it for 4 more years. I don't know, maybe 8 more years. I don't know. But we love you all. You're really amazing, successful people all, and you just gave your heart and your soul. And we won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything you can win. And now we have a successful country. Doesn't it feel different? Different, so different. So many people say, go away, and all over the world they say it feels different. The whole world feels different, so it's an honor. It's a great honor, believe me, and we should all be happy about it because we're bringing it back like nobody would have thought possible. The event has, and I just tell you, it was really the brainchild of a few of the people that happen to be in the audience. I won't bother to embarrass them by introducing them. They don't need that, but they just had this idea, and I loved it immediately upon hearing it. But this is the largest crowd so far that we can imagine to be on this lawn in many, many years. This is a big crowd. There's a lot of people, and this is all a group of people that love what we're doing. They love MAGA, Make America Great Again, and that's what we're doing. So I want to thank you all, and very particularly have some good food there. I know a certain place serves our food, and I think you're liking it. I like it, but I think you're liking it a lot. I want to express my gratitude to just about all of my members in the cabinet who are here. They are here in great numbers. I didn't know what they were saying. They said, I'll see you tonight. I'll see you tonight. And I've been so busy between Iran, Russia, China, and every other problem that we were left that I'm saying, what the hell is happening tonight? And then I said, I'm seeing a lot of thousands of my friends tonight. But I want to thank the members of the cabinet in particular. They've been unbelievable. We have a great cabinet. You see the results every single day. Let me also give a big round of applause and welcome to our new White House interns. This is the very first day on their job. Really great. Julian Nicholas, where's Julian? Where are you, Julian? Are you out there someplace? I think so. Where is Julian? Where? Oh, look at him. Oh, is that? Wow. Good. You ever hear of the great Jack Nicholas? This is his grandson, right? I immediately said, get him on board because he's got great genes. You can't get better than that. And you know, especially so your grandmother, okay? Barbara, who's fantastic. So good luck. You're going to do very well. Thank you, Julian. Very good. Say hello. I wish I could play golf like Jack Nicholas. It just didn't work out that way. But 6 months ago, we had a nation that was as cold as ice. It was cold. The whole world was laughing at us. And they're not laughing anymore, that I can tell you now. Because of the people here tonight, we have the hottest, most talked about country anywhere in the world. I went to the Middle East. We went to Qatar, Saudi Arabia. We went to UAE. We went to 3 stops. We brought back $5.1 trillion. Think of that. 5.1. They ordered massive amounts of military equipment, regular equipment, 200 Boeing aircraft, and we got 1 for free for the nation. You've been hearing that. The United States Air Force got 1 for free. I say I'd like 1 because we need it as Air Force 1 until the other ones are done. And they said, we would be pleased to give you. So they gave us a Boeing 747 for the United States Air Force. And it's just incredible. The press picked it up and they said, he got a plane. I didn't get a plane. They got a plane. But that's the way it is. You're going to get to know as you deal with the fake news. And then eventually you'll get to love them. Maybe. I doubt it. Actually, I doubt it. But I want to just tell you some of the numbers that just came out. Rasmussen, a majority of Americans now believe our country is on the right track for the first time in 28 years. Think of that. First time in 28 years. That's something. And think of the achievement. And we did that in 4 months. You know, we haven't been here long, 4 months, and we're going to do a lot better than that. But who would think that for 28 years they thought we were on the wrong track? Because I know one thing, that 4 years ago, during our term, we were on the right track. We were doing a great job. And we had one of the most successful, that was one of the most successful terms ever. Then we had a little problem where they rigged an election, and then we came back. And this is bigger, better, stronger than ever before. This one is far bigger than it would have been. This is really something what's happened. We've created over 500,000 new jobs in a short period of time, secured nearly $15 trillion, new dollars, new investments that are going into our country. And if you notice, the inflation report came out this morning. We're at about 2% inflation. Can you believe it? And very importantly, because the people were devastated, the last administration, in my opinion, the most unsuccessful administration maybe in the history of our country. Grocery prices went through the roof. Well, grocery prices now are down. You remember they were talking about eggs. My first week in office, the press was screaming about eggs. Eggs have gone up 287%. I said, I'm sorry, I just got here. And the eggs went up. Now the eggs are down at the same price they were. We got them all the way down. And we had, 3 weeks ago for Easter, we had an egg hunt, an egg roll, they called it. And they said, sir, could you order, a couple of months ago, could you order plastic eggs? I said, we're not ordering plastic eggs. And by the time we had the event, eggs were all the way down. But think of it, grocery prices are down, gasoline prices are down, and they were down just in time. $1, we had numerous states, $1.98 a gallon, just in time for Memorial Day weekend. How about that? Good timing. You know, this all inures to you because you're all with us. This is a family. This is really a family. So when I do good, you do good. When we do good, we do good together. That's the way I want it. Incomes are soaring, and in April, we achieved the largest drop in consumer prices, the largest increase in consumer confidence, both of them in many, many years. In one case, we've never had such a drop. It's never been like this. We've never had this kind of success. I just hope it keeps going. You know, you do need a little luck, too. You know that. And sometimes you need a little prayer, maybe all the time. We need a little bit of a prayer. But we're going to keep it going. In a single month, we also cut the trade deficit in half by 50%. You believe that one? You don't hear that too much on the news. They don't like to tell you those things. In a matter of weeks, we slashed the number of illegal border crossings released into the United States down to practically nothing. 3 people got in, 3. We had hundreds of thousands, and 3 people equates to 99.999%. How's that, good? I couldn't reach 100%, I'm sorry. And of the 3 people, I have to tell you, 2 of them were medical emergencies, okay? So I'm going to say 1 person got in. That was a piece of work, I guess. I'd like to meet that guy. I'd like to meet the guy that got in. Peacetime enlistment numbers. This is something we're all really proud of. It's a big deal. Peacetime enlistment numbers for every branch of our military, every single branch, are at the highest levels in modern history. And 7 months ago, we had the worst recruit. Think of this. This is done in 6 or 7 months. 7 months ago, we had the worst numbers in recorded history. Nobody wanted to join the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. Nobody wanted, or our police. Our police are likewise through the roof. 6, 7 months ago, they couldn't fill a position. You couldn't fill it in the military. Now it's hot as a pistol. We have the best numbers. Think of that. The best numbers in a short period of time in modern history. And that's something I'm very proud of. And that's because the people of our country, you love our country, you were devastated to see what was happening, and now you're thrilled to see what's happening because we have a hot one and we love it. We've achieved more in 4 months than most administrations have achieved in 4 years or 8 years, and none of this would have been possible without you. You're the ones that are really doing it. You're the ones that are making it happen. You really are. And someday, one of you, maybe two of you or three of you, will be standing right here saying very similar words. I hope you're saying similar words. But that's a real possibility, because there really is this greatness in this crowd. There's greatness. You might not even know that, but there's greatness in this crowd. The caliber of talent we've assembled is unparalleled. This is really the strongest, most talented team that we've had, and I think that this government has had in a long time, and maybe ever. I really think this could be the best team. We worked hard on it. In just 135 days, we've hired over 3,200 patriots to deliver on the mandate that we received in November. November 5th, we want to go down as one of the most important days in the history of our country. That's Election Day. We're going to make it the most important day. And as of tonight, we filled 91% of our political appointments. And I'll tell you, we have a waiting list. Likewise, we have a big waiting list of people that want to come over, work here with you, work in the White House. Every single department, every single agency has a waiting list of people that want to come in and be with us. The Department of Veteran Affairs has achieved already 100% staffing, all with people that we want, really great people. The Department of Defense, Commerce, and Treasury is over 90% of the political hires. They're complete. It's a record at this time, so early. And the Departments of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, Labor are all over and up to about 95% already. So that's incredible. I want to thank the great Chief of Staff, most powerful woman anywhere in the world, they say. She got the most powerful woman in the world. One phone call and a group of people, I better not say it. I was going to say one phone call and the country is wiped out, but we're not going to say that because we're a peace-loving nation. We are a peace-loving nation. Susie Wiles, where are you, Susie? There she is. No, she's great. And Sergio, thank you for the great job that you did. I appreciate it, Sergio. Sergio Gore. They have done a really amazing job. Susie, I'll tell you what, she's the first woman chief of staff in the history of our country. And I'm surprised to hear that. And I watch those men, and she watches over them, and if they get a little bit out of line, they may be big shots, defense. They may be at commerce. They may be the biggest. They're scared of her. They're afraid of her. They don't want her coming after them. But no, she's been incredible. First woman chief of staff in the history of our country. Isn't that great? I'm surprised to hear that, actually, but that's the way it is. But most importantly, let me thank all of the appointees for your tireless efforts to deliver our promises and to put very simply, it's very simple words to words, America first. It's all about putting America first. And by the way, we're going to help other countries, but first we have to straighten out our country. Don't you think so? And it's not going to take too long. A very special thanks as well to your spouses and children and families and loved ones for the support that you've given us. And we're saving our country. This would have been a country, we were a country in shambles, and now we're a country that is just in love with itself, in love with its people, and everybody's talking about it. And it's such an honor to be involved with you. And without you, it wouldn't be happening, because together we've begun the golden age of America. This is now the golden age of America. It's a beautiful term and a beautiful country. And we're going to make our nation safer and stronger and prouder, richer, freer, and greater than ever before. And I can give you my word, I'm going to work so hard. We're going to work harder than any president's ever worked. We have to, because we got off to a little rough start. They gave us a very bad hand, and we've taken that bad hand and we've turned it into the best hand you can get, and you're the reasons why. And I want to thank you. We love you all. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good time. Don't eat too much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President's budget request. That request is outlined in a brief document transmitted to Congress last month and further clarified in materials published late last week, proposes significant cuts across several agencies within the Department of Commerce. We need additional information from the department, including the FY26 budget justification and the FY25 spend plan. This spend plan is required by law, and the limited information to date is insufficient. The budget request proposes a 16.5% reduction in budget authority for the department and its agencies, including a $1.5 billion reduction in the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, a $325 million reduction in the National Institute of Standards for Technology, NIST, and the eventual elimination of the Economic Development Administration. I support the administration's effort to save dollars. We do need to make certain that these reductions do not harm our efforts to expand manufacturing jobs and to promote Americans' exports abroad. One of the instances I'd like to highlight is this proposal suggests the elimination for the Hollings Manufacturing Extension Partnership, a popular NIST program that supports small and medium manufacturing firms in the United States and certainly in Kansas, despite President's strong support for American manufacturing. While NOAA's overall budget is reduced, I'm pleased to see that the budget appendix appears to support maintaining funding and operations for the National Weather Service. Last Thursday, I visited the Weather Forecasting Office in Goodland, Kansas, which I was unable to operate for the 24/7 since early May. I appreciate your help, Mr. Secretary, in lifting the nationwide hiring freeze impacting weather forecasting offices, a critical step in restoring normal operations, particularly as in Kansas, where it's now tornado season. We'll also discuss your plans to unwind the BEAD program's burdensome regulations that have stifled domestic investment in broadband deployment. Secretary LUTNIK, thank you for your testimony today. I look forward to working closely with you and throughout the appropriations process to provide the right level of federal resources to support the Department of Commerce and its agencies. I now recognize Senator Van Hollen, the ranking member, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. I hope that this hearing will be a restart of what had been a strong and professional relationship between this committee, this subcommittee, both sides, and the Department of Commerce. And I say that because I think that it was the experience of Senator Moran that during the Biden administration, whether they agreed or disagreed, the Department of Commerce was forthcoming in providing responses to questions. And that's also true when you go back to the first Trump administration, right? But it has been a very different and broken relationship since this administration took office, at least with respect to trying to get answers from this side of the aisle. I'm not fully aware of all of the chairman's inquiries. But as you know, we have witnessed during this period of time since the beginning of the Trump administration an unprecedented and, in my view, illegal firing of thousands of federal employees, including many at the Department of Commerce, NOAA, and other places. We've also seen the withholding of funds that have been duly appropriated by this Congress and signed into law. As you know, Mr. Secretary, Article 2 of the Constitution requires the President to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Appropriations Acts are the supreme law of the land. Executive orders are not. DOJ diktats are not. To that end, here's just a partial list of the department's and the administration's failure to comply with the law or with reasonable requests from this committee. The administration is withholding $200 million provided to the Department of Commerce in the fiscal year 2025 appropriations law that the President signed in March. The department has attempted to illegally shut down the Minority Business Development Agency, despite the appropriation and the recent bipartisan 2021 authorization law, putting that into the permanent statute. The department has not provided its agency RIFF and reorganization plan, despite a letter that both the chairman and I sent to you and the department requesting the specifics. The department has illegally fired nearly 1,000 employees, including over 500 from NOAA alone. The department has failed to provide a real spending plan outlining how you tend to execute the fiscal year 25 appropriations law. We have this 2-page document. The chairman referred to the fact that this is still missing other than this 2-pager. Just to give you a point of reference, this was an equivalent from last year with respect to the plan to spend the remaining funds for this fiscal year, which, as you know, ends on September 30th. The department has failed to respond to virtually all committee inquiries, at least on the Democratic side. Letters I've sent, I sent you 2 letters, Mr. Secretary, in addition to the joint letter I sent you with the chairman, and our staff has sent multiple inquiries, and I'll have some questions about the lack of responsiveness going forward. This is, in my view, unacceptable, and I think it should be unacceptable to people on both sides of the aisle. And it's in this context that we're now taking up the fiscal year 2026 appropriations bill, and I've discussed with the chairman of the subcommittee, and I know that Senator Murray has talked with Senator Collins. As an appropriations committee, we've got to figure out how, when we appropriate resources for certain purposes, that those are complied with. Let me just say that beyond the issue of the numbers and the budget, this does come down to people. One such person is Carrie. She's a mom and a homeowner who lives in Maryland. She's a federal employee who worked at the Department of Commerce. She was proud of her mission. She worked to implement the CHIPS and Science Act, promoting domestic semiconductor manufacturing, supporting good-paying jobs. She received the so-called fork email offering her money to quit her job. She said, "I don't need to take that because I think I'm contributing." Earlier this year, she was on medical leave to recover following a major spinal surgery. She then, a few days later, received the message to tell everybody what 5 things she'd done during the week. Her husband said, "Don't focus on that, focus on your recovery." Instead, she worked from bed. Days later, she was fired. Then a judge ordered her and other employees to be reinstated, only for her to be fired again. Making matters worse, not only was her health insurance canceled, but it was also retroactively backdated, meaning she had to pay for the surgery and medication out of pocket. One prescription alone cost her $2,500. She said, and I quote, "Right now I'm working off faith. We have kids, we have a mortgage, car payments. I don't know what we're going to do." Mr. Secretary, this is no way to treat patriotic federal employees who are doing the work for our country. And I look forward to today's hearing and the questions that will be posed from people on both sides of the aisle. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Van Hollen. Mr. Secretary, as I welcomed you earlier, we now look forward to your testimony, and you may begin.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you all the members of this committee for having me here today. I very much appreciate coming to visit with you. Chairman Moran, Ranking Member Van Hollen, and members of the subcommittee, it's an honor for me to join you today. America is once again the most attractive destination for investment in the world. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Commerce is strengthening American industry from those that are the most popular to those industries that have been long ignored. We are focused on building in America and driving our economic growth. We will narrow the deficit of this country, both the trade deficit and our budget deficit, and we will deliver a new era of American innovation. Businesses are no longer looking overseas. They are choosing to invest in America first. Through the President's executive order establishing the Investment Accelerator, the Department of Commerce has already secured trillions of dollars in new commitments from world-class companies and sovereign wealth funds eager to build and invest here in the United States of America. This surge in investment, paired with renewed commitment to fair and reciprocal trade, is reigniting American manufacturing. We are bringing car manufacturing back to Michigan and Ohio. We are reopening steel mills in Pennsylvania. Just last month, I went out to Arizona and welcomed the largest semiconductor investment in the history of the United States of America, $165 billion, thanks to an investment of TSMC. With respect to CHIPS deals, we are improving those commitments to more than $300 billion, doubling the previous investment of those companies receiving CHIPS Act awards without costing the United States taxpayer a single additional dollar. Our Commerce Department is driving substantial investments across America. Critically, the President's America First agenda goes beyond just economic growth and investment. The President is taking concrete actions to protect American workers and our national security. Under Section 232, the Commerce Department is conducting numerous investigations to protect, to reshore, and revive manufacturing capacity across our critical industries here in America. The Trump administration is imposing tariffs and ending loopholes. In April, we ended the de minimis loophole, which allowed foreign companies to avoid paying tariffs to ship small shipments into America, completely undercutting and undermining American small businesses. New export controls are protecting cutting-edge technologies and finally protecting critical industries and American innovation. In fact, the Bureau of Industry and Security, working with our partners in the Department of Justice, secured 22 criminal convictions, 32 arrests, 38 indictments, 231 detentions. We've seized goods of $185.5 million and additional seizures of another $40 million. Under this administration, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office is tackling a mountain of unexamined patent applications left by the Biden administration, over 800,000. And we're successfully reducing the backlog for the first time in 4 years. In the past 4 months alone, we've removed 50,000 fraudulent goods and services from the trademark register that blocks the legitimate use of American businesses. Many of these purported trademarks come from what they call a specimen farm, which is basically a fake website produced by AI, producing fake products that aren't really for sale. And we ended them. At NOAA, we are transforming how we track storms and forecast weather with cutting-edge technology. But remember, not cutting any instruments or data. We're adding. We're improving the understanding and prediction of how hurricanes intensify. This season, NOAA's research centers will deploy new small aircraft drone systems and additional underwater gliders. This year, the National Weather Service will be running experimental AI-based forecast systems, and all data will be publicly available. Together, this commitment to innovation means earlier warnings and increased accuracy for Americans no matter where they live. For far too long, America has not protected its workers and its industry. Thanks to President Trump and this administration's efforts, we are reversing this trend. We are reshoring critical manufacturing. We are eliminating unfair trade barriers and practices. We are investing in our American workforce. And with your help, we will continue to deliver growth and prosperity to Americans. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. I recognize now the chairman of the full committee, Senator Collins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, welcome. It's great to see you here today. It probably won't surprise you, given the many discussions we've had about the lobster industry, that I'm going to start with my first question on that. Maine's lobster industry, as you know, is so important to the economy of Maine.
And to me as well. I love lobster.
And I've always known that. And it represents Maine. It's really an iconic industry for us, of hardworking people that sustain many of our coastal communities. In 2022, the Biden administration proposed regulations that posed a threat to the very existence of the lobster fishery. If implemented, it would have shut down the lobster industry. The Maine delegation worked as a team, and we were able to successfully block those regulations and prevent them from going into effect for a period of years. Subsequently, the Maine Lobstermen's Association sued the National Department the National Marine Fisheries Services in the Department of Commerce and overwhelmingly won the case in June of 2023. And I want to read you just a little bit of what the judge said, what the three-court panel said in its decision. It said that the service had relied upon worst-case modeling that was, quote, very likely wrong, based on assumptions that the service conceded that it did not believe were accurate. Projections that are very likely wrong obviously are not likely to occur. And what the court found was that the service acted in an arbitrary and capricious way and blocked the regulations from going forward. But obviously it's costly to go to court and to do that. So, Mr. Secretary, I know there's a new executive order that attempts to establish much higher standards for scientific research. It emphasizes rigorous evidence-based methodologies to inform federal regulations. Can you talk to us about how you believe that this new approach to regulation based in science will help protect the Maine fishing industry and our lobster industry from arbitrary and capricious regulations, as the court found was done in the previous administration?
This administration views the Maine lobster industry as an American treasure, and we need to protect it. And you will see as we do our trade deals, right? They treat the Maine lobster industry horribly. And in the UK deal, they said, we will invite you to 10 Downing Street and we will have now a lobster dinner. Okay, so we've opened, for example, the UK to lobster. We think this capricious lack of rigor in our science has got to end. So the gold standard executive order saying only real science, not opinion-based science, has to be the rule. So we protect our fishermen, we protect our ranchers, right? These are key things that this administration is going to drive for. So I completely agree with you. We will protect the great Maine lobster industry because it is a treasure for America.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. We've also talked about how integrated the Maine economy is with Canada. And Canada's our closest neighbor, our dear friend, and our largest trading partner. And so I have been very concerned, and I know the department and you personally are working very hard on this issue about tariffs on Canadian products. Our lobster, our potatoes, our blueberries are largely processed in Canada and then come back across the border. We have a paper mill in northern Maine, in Madawaska, Maine, whose sister mill is right across the river in Canada. The sister mill in Canada produces the pulp that is piped across the river to the paper mill in Madawaska, Maine. So that's how close the partnership is. 95,000 Mainers are not connected to the New England electric grid. They get their electricity from Canada. I just mentioned these examples. 95% of our refined petroleum products come from Canada. 90% of potash, which is used, the fertilizer for potatoes, comes from Canada. just to give you a few examples of how integrated our approach is, could you give me a brief update on where we stand with Canadian tariffs?
Sure. So,
Let me ask that question, Howard. Fuck off with your tariffs about Canada. Oh my God, the world's on fire. It is literally burning. People are dropping bombs, and you're worried about blueberries. They're doing gazillion-dollar deals, and you got to make sure the little lobster guy, and which I love, I absolutely love Maine lobsters, and blueberries, maybe that might not be the stuff you need to focus on. Maybe the rest of America's got something real much bigger that we need to focus on. Hey, Miss Collins, yeah, what the hell are you talking about? We're trying to save America, and you're talking about flipping blueberries. So some of you guys are probably thinking, well, why are you showing this? Well, I'm going to tell you why I'm showing it. I love Howard LUTNIK. I think Howard LUTNIK is one of the top cabinet members, probably right behind Stephen Miller, even though Stephen Miller is not really a cabinet member. But I'm talking about close to Trump. I still with the first bro, Elon, and then from there, it'd be Stephen Miller, or those two are interchangeable, and then Howard LUTNIK. That's my guy. And so as I was, I'm watching this for the first time with you. I was going to show it this morning, but everybody said do Doge, and then we had the Ukraine stuff happen, so I'm like, okay, let's watch it tonight. And so then as I was getting ready to do this, we find out that Trump's doing some sort of soiree. And little did we know it was a 15-minute greeting, and that's it. We weren't going to see anything else. I mean, there is literally no other video coming out from the soiree. I thought we were going to get to see people having fun. So I'm like, this is perfect. Let's listen to what Howard LUTNIK says. Let's understand how these people are thinking, because what we're hearing, this is a budget meeting, and they're supposed to figure out how much they should be appropriating to Howard LUTNIK, which should be anything you need. You're here to help this country grow and be prosperous. What do you need from us? And so this is, I guess, the first person asking questions. The other ones were the opening statements. But if this is what we have to look forward to, come on, people. Blueberries? Seriously. Let me show you how crazy. Understanding that this happened this morning, bright and early, this came out. Oops, wrong thing. What did I just do? What did I just do? I don't know what just happened, why that's not showing as it's supposed to show. So let me try a different window, because every once in a while these windows freak out on me and decide that they don't want to play ball. All right, in any event, I'll use this one. And it's from the White House, and it says, investment alert. Because of the strong leadership of POTUS, Amazon is investing $10 billion in North Carolina for what? AI data center. Amazon announced tonight, this was at 6 p.m., that they're putting in a $10 billion AI center in North Carolina. Hopefully this button works. Yes, that button. All right, so we're gonna look at this as he's talking, so you guys can understand the magnitude of what we're looking at while she's talking about blueberries. Lord help us. Lord help us with these people. They just don't seem to get what's really going on in the world. Let me find, where'd that window go? I don't know. That window just completely pooped the bed, so I'm going to have to read it in this window. All right, so here we go. Amazon to invest $10 billion in North Carolina for AI data centers. $10 billion. That's 10 with a B, $10 billion in North Carolina. I'm hoping it tells me what part of North Carolina, because some of you guys are probably going to ask that. All right, here we go. The investment creates hundreds of jobs as the company races to compete with Google and Microsoft in artificial intelligence. I think they forgot a couple companies, but it is Fox Business. All right. Amazon is investing $10 billion to create data centers in North Carolina aimed at expanding its artificial intelligence and cloud computing technology and capabilities. The move was announced today in its latest attempt to compete with rivals Google and Microsoft in the artificial intelligence space. It would also significantly boost presence in the state, creating at least 500 new highly skilled jobs, and yada, yada, yada. I'm looking to see where it's going to be. The investment will support thousands of other jobs in AWS. Amazon has been investing in its artificial intelligence infrastructure, yada, yada, yada. Doesn't say where it's going. So it doesn't say where in North Carolina it's going. I'd love to know where it's going to be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Raleigh. It says Tar Heel State. Maybe somewhere probably right around the college or something. But in any event, they're going to put $10 billion into an AI data center. AI data center. Winkety wink wink. Providing we all survive the coming World War III, you might want to begin looking at what we're going to be doing about AI. As President Trump is obviously got guys like Howard LUTNIK in putting these gazillion-dollar deals in, while our Congress, for some reason, keeps talking about doggone blueberries. So anyway, this is the kind of content that I plan on having once I get into the office, having running and different things, so I don't have to even interrupt you guys. You guys want to watch it, boom, it goes over there. So let me play some more of this, and let's find out where this idiocy is taking us.
So the overriding principle is USMCA. So if the products are actually made in Canada and actually made in the United States, they come back and forth, and it's easy for them to fall under the USMCA, and that has no tariff. No tariff. Things that are outside of that, where companies chose to be outside of those rules, and those rules, as you know, have been in place quite a long time. If they're outside of those rules, then they have a tariff on them. They have the fentanyl tariffs, right? Because we needed to close the border and make sure fentanyl was not coming into the country. And people say, oh, Canada doesn't do much in fentanyl. But if you look at the fentanyl rings in Canada, they're often manned by Mexican cartels. So we needed to shut that. And so those outside of USMCA do pay a tariff, but those inside of USMCA are free of tariff.
Thank you. If you would provide us with a list of which products are under USMCA, that would be very helpful to us. I believe that a lot of the cases that I've mentioned will be under the USMCA.
Correct.
And thus exempt from the tariff. But it would be good to have some certainty in that area. So if we could work with you and your staff to try to get a more definitive list, that would be very
Sure, that primarily comes from USTR, but I will call
Okay.
them and I will have it to you.
Thank
No
you
problem.
so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Collins, thank you very much. Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you. So, Mr. Secretary, I mentioned in my opening comments the RIFF plans. On February 11th, President Trump signed an executive order requiring agency heads to plan, quote, large-scale reductions in force, known as RIFs, and agency reorganization plans. On March 27th, Senator Moran and I sent you a letter requesting that you send us the plans the department submitted to the White House. It's now June 4th. We've not received a response. We're in the middle of a budget hearing. First of all, you would agree, would you not, that your reorganization plans are relevant to the committee's consideration of the budget?
I think our proposal for the budget is clear, so I think it takes those things into account.
Mr. Secretary, let me ask you this. Are you going to provide us with the reorganization plan, and when?
I will certainly get together with the department, and we will consider what information we can give you that makes sense. But I'm happy to work with you offline if you'd like.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, you're aware of the fact that a federal district court ruled that the RIFF plans proposed by the Trump administration could not go forward. because the judge stated that, quote, agencies may not conduct large-scale reorganizations or reductions in force in blatant disregard of Congress's mandates, and a president may not initiate large-scale executive branch reorganization without partnering with Congress. That decision was upheld by an appellate court just a few days ago. I'm not asking.
So what you're hearing now is they're using these court rulings, and they're trying to pin Howard Lutnick and the Trump administration into those confines, which is why President Trump is going to have to pull the plug. Now, I have not heard the answer yet. I have not heard the response. But I'm pretty sure I'd be surprised if this guy gets an answer he wants to. Because Howard's probably thinking the same thing all of us are thinking. Screw your judge. Screw your court hearing. But let's see how he diplomatically answers this question.
To opine on that legal decision. I'm simply asking you to provide the committee with a reorganization plan, and your response is maybe yes, maybe no. Am I getting that right? I mean, are you going to provide the plan to the this committee as we review the budget for the upcoming year?
Well, we at the department are going to follow the law. That, of course, is what we're going to do.
Well, the law actually does require that you submit these major changes to the Senate. Let me ask you this. I mentioned in my opening statement the fact that I'd sent a number of letters to you. Our staff has actually sent inquiries to your team. I have a lot of questions today, but they'll be a lot longer unless I can get a commitment that you and your team will respond to the inquiries we've made. These are simple questions. They don't, and I'll set aside for now the RIFF plan. And Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent to submit to the record the letters that I've sent to the Secretary and the staff inquiries that my team has made.
Without objection.
Mr. Secretary, will you agree, say, within a week to get responses to these inquiries?
I can easily agree that I will go through your letters, and to the extent I can answer them, I will happily answer you within a week.
Well, when you say,
I don't know what the letters
this is
say
an
as I
oversight
sit here right
question.
now. So.
Well, okay, Mr. Secretary, their question. I can. Well, I'll read through some of them later in the hearing. We can go through them one by one. They're pretty straightforward, simple questions about the implications of the department's actions on certain programs. Let me turn to the National Weather Service for a moment, because, as you know, originally 600 staff were eliminated from the National Weather Service. Then all of a sudden, it seems the department realized that this was not really a good idea, as many weather stations around the country, and the chairman referenced some of them, said they couldn't be staffed full-time. We have a headline from just May 15th, Washington Post: NOAA scrambles to fill forecasting jobs as hurricane season looms. I know that we're scrambling to try and rehire about 100 or hire 126 people, but Mr. Secretary.
So I just wanted to jump in real quick here. So notice how he just wove in the wrap-up smear. He used a Washington Post article to basically say that Howard Lutnick and the Trump administration didn't know what they were doing. That grand, great newspaper is who he's using to try and impeach. When I say impeach, counteract what Howard Lutnick is saying. And if you also heard the answer to his question, you're going to get me all my information? We're going to follow the law. And Chris Van Hollen knew enough not to say what law. See, that's where the key is. And you'll hear that probably a few times. We're going to follow the law. And he never says what law. Because they're talking about two different laws. They're trying to use the court filings as law, which they're not. You see, as soon as that judgment hits the docket, they file appeal. There's nothing there. It has to wait until the appeal goes through. Even if they try to do some sort of TRO, temporary restraining order or injunction. The Trump administration is letting everybody know we're going to follow the law. district court judges do not supersede the president. And that's the law he's saying. They do not tell the president what to do. And Van Hollen might be smart enough to, yeah, maybe I should stay away from that.
It's my understanding that as of today, offices in Kansas, Alaska, and Oregon are no longer operating 24 hours a day. Is that accurate?
The department employs 2,100 meteorologists and hundreds of other forecasters. Okay, this is less than 5%. We are fully staffed. There are no openings on the National Hurricane Center. Zero. It is fully staffed. We are fully ready for hurricane season, and our meteorologists
Mr. Secretary,
are fully staffed.
you did not answer
Fully staffed.
you did not answer the direct question about whether those weather offices are open full time, and it's obvious that you all made a huge mistake. I mean, you've acknowledged it by having to rehire 126 people. But can you just comment on whether or not those offices I mentioned are operating 24
We have
hours a
not
day?
made a huge mistake. I did not say such a thing.
I didn't say you did. It's pretty obvious from the actions. I will. As I said, you fired
News
600.
report
You're
was
rehired.
inaccurate, obviously.
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 We're happy to follow up, and you can provide the facts.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Secretary, in Kansas, we have lots of manufacturers, and the aviation and aerospace industry is a significant component of that. That industry has a very positive trade balance, perhaps the best in our country.
Fantastic.
And I wonder how the Department of Commerce is going to act to protect that trade surplus as you have negotiations with other countries for trade agreements. There's a 0 tariff provision on aerospace parts and tools. Is that something that you would continue under the 1979 agreement in the aviation aerospace industry? Is that something you will pursue in trying to maintain so that trade balance continues to be such a positive for our nation?
Our nation's aircraft business is, as you correctly say, a fantastic asset of our country, one of the great exports of our country, and we are going to protect it. So we have a 232 in the Commerce Department, but we do expect, as we did with the UK, we negotiated a 0 tariff with them, and I would expect if other countries play ball with us, that I would expect that's an offer we make, provided they're buying our aircraft. Remember, in exchange for us doing a 0 tariff, I mean, think of Donald Trump. He then gets an agreement by British Airways to buy $10 billion. They were competing with Airbus, and in part of that agreement, they committed to buying Boeing aircraft of $10 billion. That's exactly the way the Trump administration thinks about these kind of negotiations. Make sure it wins for American industry.
You mentioned Section 232 dealing with aircraft and jet engines in particular. The comment period expired, I think, yesterday. What do you expect to occur next?
Well, we expect probably by the end of the month we'll have an analysis and we'll set the standard for aircraft part tariffs. We're going to discuss it with the president. We'll discuss the analysis, and we will take due consideration on what to do. But the key is to protect our industry and make sure those who trade with us treat us fairly. And I think we will use these tools to the betterment of American industry.
In the aircraft and aviation aerospace industry, there are certainly large companies. You mentioned Boeing as a particular player in that field, but that's true in Kansas. We have some large companies who manufacture aircraft and aircraft parts. But there's also a lot of mom and pop manufacturers, small businesses are in that arena. And one of the ways we've been able to help those small manufacturers, aviation and otherwise, is the Hollings Manufacturer Extension Partnership Program that we refer to as MEP. I've heard from manufacturers in Kansas about the importance of that program, and I'm interested in knowing, it doesn't appear that it's going to be funded by what in your budget, or it's not going to be funded by, not going to be requesting funding. How does the department intend to replace the manufacturer's assistance that comes from MEP to make sure that our small manufacturers have the best access to technology and techniques to compete with the larger companies who sometimes dominate manufacturing?
Programs that were set up by the Department of Commerce decades ago to assist in technology for manufacturing tend to be outdated. The new technology is AI-driven, automated. I think we need to re-examine and retool a whole variety of these programs so that we are able to provide the best technological assistance rather than just continuing a program that's decades and decades old. So I'm very focused, and our department is very focused on making sure we're bringing our manufacturers the best tools, and we're examining them, and we will do that. And you know, you have a great plant for Panasonic in Kansas. It's fantastic, and that's exactly the kind of manufacturing we hope to reshore to America.
Thank you. Thank you for knowing about the presence of Panasonic in Kansas and its value to our state and to the country. I'm going to conclude my questions and next turn to Senator Kennedy. But I hope your budget that we will see, I hope in the near future, it shows us the path that you intend to take to make certain that the latest technologies are available to small manufacturers. Senator Kennedy. Oh, yes, it is. Senator Reid, I'm sorry, I spent time with you on the Senate floor yesterday and overlooked you today.
Easily overlooked.
Not intentionally. Senator Reid.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I did see the cut of this guy. This guy, Senator Reid, not sure where he's from, Democrat. This is worth the price of admission. I'm not gonna blow it for you. No spoiler alert. You just need to hear what this guy says. And the answer that Howard LUTNIK gives him is probably going to be the same answer you would give if somebody asked you this incredulous question. It's embarrassing, but it also is quite telling. It exposes the ideology of the Democrat Party when it's not their money. Listen to this exchange. Like I said, I saw this on X earlier. It's mind-blowing.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Secretary. We've all been talking about bottlenecks, in fact, in the department and elsewhere throughout the government. In fact, last month, Senator Cruz warned about the growing backlog of contracts awaiting approval at the Department of Congress. He warned that NOAA alone has 5,700 contracts set to expire this year. And it's been reported in the press that you are insisting on personally reviewing every Commerce contract over $100,000?
That is true.
Well, that seems to be something that is not particularly efficient. And
hey, there's like 5,000 contracts that are expiring, and you want to review them all yourself? Yeah, that's my job. I'm the big honcho with Commerce. It's my job to see what America is spending its money on. Well, that doesn't seem efficient. Well, I'm not the one who created 5,000 separate contracts. But I'm going to make damn well sure that if these contracts are coming across and people are expecting payment, I know what we're buying. This fossil sitting on this stand can't even imagine why you'd even want to review 5,000 contracts. It's not worth my time looking at 5,000 contracts. I don't care. It's not my money. That's exactly what it's saying. Wanted to point it out. It gets worse.
results in the 5,700 contracts just in NOAA. So, again, if you can't find reliable support to do those reviews, I think you're wasting your time, frankly.
So I am tasked with the responsibility of my department, and contracts over $100,000 should be reviewed by the secretary. Now, I may have more energy and more time, and if you drive by the Department of Commerce late at night, you're going to see our lights on because I'm going through it. I do it with my team. I do it with the people who run the bureaus, and I teach them how to analyze contracts, not to push forward what was done before. And I'll give you one quick example. They come to me with planes, hurricane hunters, and they said there were $672 million. I said, wow, how many planes do we get? We get Two planes? Wow. Can I see the plane, please? Just show me a picture of the plane and they show me this picture of a plane. You remember old planes, they had like mullions in the windscreen, and they show me that, 3 propellers on each side. And I said, my God, when was this plane new? They said, no, you're buying a new plane. I said, no, when was the first one?
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary.
1955.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary.
These things have
You're
to stop.
You're talking about a $600 million acquisition. That's
Correct.
a lot more than a $100,000 contract to do something like cleaning in the buildings that you occupy.
Oh,
And
we cancel huge numbers of absurd contracts for software nobody uses. I said, how many people use this software? 0. These are waste,
Excuse me.
these are fraud, or these are abuse, and it's my job
How
to
many
teach my
CEOs,
staff.
how many CEOs of companies, major companies in the United States, are reviewing contracts at the $100,000 level?
Dude, you stepped into it. You're embarrassing yourself. I don't know what this guy's background is. Maybe he used to, I don't know, pick coconuts. How many CEOs review $100,000 contracts? Did you just really ask the billionaire who had a $1 billion company that got destroyed by 9/11 and then rebuilt a $1 billion company who does nothing and did nothing but do $1 billion deals? How are you going to look at $100,000 contracts? Why are we even bother looking at $100,000 contracts? That's who's running your government. Why are you even looking at $100,000 contracts? Wally the Nigerian would just pay him in the past. That's exactly why we're looking at the $100,000 contracts. So you guys thought this was going to be a boring hearing, but no, you're seeing something right now. You're seeing specifically that these Democrats don't have a flipping clue, that they enjoyed ripping you off for years. Don't even look, man. It's just a measly $100,000. We don't even check the ink on those. I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified when I heard that. Why bother even checking it? You know, it's not your money. When it doesn't matter if you spend $400,000 on a hotel in the Ukraine. Yeah, you're just doing this. You're just signing all day. I don't care. My people in South Carolina and North Carolina, they're going to pay for it. But did you not go over there judiciously and, hey, Lindsay, did you have to spend $400,000 on hotels? Hey, it's a $100,000 contract. What are you worried about? We don't even look at those here. Did you know that? Now you know where your money has been going. The Wally Nigerian has been told, as we knew, just pay everything. Don't even look. And you got a senator, a sitting senator, asking Howard LUTNIK, why are you even checking these contracts? I mean, these contracts...
And if they would, what would the board of directors say to them?
The first year you're there, if you don't do it, you should be fired. You should know everything that's going through. You should do it with your staff. You should teach your staff how to do it, and then you should delegate them to do it once you've taught them. You don't do it, you're abdicating your responsibility. That's how I view it. That's how I ran my business privately, and that's how I'm going to run the government. I'm responsible for our staff.
Let's go ahead and get those 5,700 contracts done.
There are not,
this
under
weekend?
any circumstances,
How
any
about this-
contracts
how
sitting
about
there.
this
There are
weekend?
none.
Can you get it done this weekend? Work overtime with the gang and get it done?
There are no contracts waiting for me, and if there were, I'll be there all night tonight, making sure they get turned out with my team, teaching my team how to do it.
Right. No budget cuts.
Mr. Magoo there got his ass handed to him. Yeah. By the way, Mr. Magoo, not sure if you know this, but there's this thing called AI, and I can have one staff member go ahead and feed these contracts into a machine, and the machine will come up, depending on what parameters I put in. Hey, show me which ones are due on, I don't know, August 1st. We'll look at those first. Oh, then we'll look at the ones that are due on September 1st. And which ones are, you know, this and that, whatever parameters you want to put. Mr. Magoo has no idea. Why you even bother looking at them? Oh my gosh, we are in so much trouble. Oh my God, we shouldn't be paying taxes at all. We should not be paying taxes at all. Yeah, I said it. We should not be paying income taxes. President Trump should come on and just go, we're done. We're done with this charade. You people don't even want to check a contract for at least $100,000 because it's not worth my time. I bet you if it was coming out of his pocket, it'd be his time. It'd be worth his time. I bet you if you guys say, hey, listen, if you're too busy, let me check. I bet you we could find 5,700 people and give them each one contract and say, hey, I'll check it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We need to cancel this one, Howie. And this dude's like, yeah, can you get it done this weekend? Wow. I told you this was a good one.
I'm echoing what's been said before, but NOAA is a key aspect of our whole society. Farmers plant based on NOAA weather. We do research so that we understand changing oceans, et cetera. And this cut, as described by Craig McLean, who was served as NOAA's top scientist during the first Trump administration, has said in his quote, the proposal to slash NOAA funding by nearly 30% would take us back to the 1950s in terms of our scientific footing and the American people. And I'm echoing what's said by many other people. You're going to destroy NOAA. Well, that's consistent.
Under no circumstances. We have 2,100 meteorologists and 120 retired this year, and we hired them back. I was able to have them exempted from the hiring freeze. We care about meteorologists. We care about hydrologists who do the rivers and the ponds. So we are fully staffed with forecasters and scientists. Under no circumstances am I going to let public safety or public forecasting be touched. But I tell you what we did cut. We did cut programs writing children's books for climate anxiety. Yes, that was in NOAA. And you agree with me, that's not part of our mission. Our mission is to forecast. Our mission is to protect. Our mission is to advise. Our mission is to research, not write children's books on climate anxiety.
How much money did you save there?
We saved tens of millions of dollars
On books for
nonsense
children?
out of NOAA. Nonsense out of NOAA.
I want to also associate myself with
So I have a problem. I don't know, maybe I've watched too many lawyer movies, maybe I've been around too many lawyers, but I understand when you go to a hearing or of any sort, you don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. That way you can find out if somebody's lying to you. This guy has no clue. This guy Reed is just having people probably send him Post-it notes to ask questions. And so he can't even come back at Howard because he doesn't even know what the response should be. No clue. That's who's running our government.
those comments made by colleagues about the MEP program. We find it to be very effective. And the notion that, oh, we're not going to repeat what we did 10 years ago, et cetera, it's working. In the U.S., it's been estimated in FY24 that MEP secured $5 billion in new investments and created and retained 108,000 jobs. It's worth the investment. And this notion that, oh, we have new techniques, yes, we have AI, et cetera, but we have very common things that businessmen look for, like how do I establish my financial relationships with banks? How do I get this new equipment, which is not sophisticated AI, it's machine tools. And how do I do that? MEP does this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now recognize Senator Kennedy, the senator I was been so anxious to hear from. We'll see if I was right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. Mr. Secretary, I think I'm like most Americans. I agree with some of the things that you and the White House have done on tariffs, disagree with others. It's clear to me that the president listens to your advice about tariffs. So I want to spend my precious time trying to understand how you think. If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
Why is that?
Vietnam has a $125 billion exports to us and imports from us $12.5 million. And you're thinking, Vietnam exports $125 billion?
I'm aware of the figures, but tell me.
But where
why
do they
you-
get it from? They buy $90 billion from China, then they mark it up and send it to us.
So you
They're
wouldn't-
just a
you wouldn't-
pathway of China to us.
You wouldn't accept that deal.
No, it's a terrible deal. We're the one with money. We're the one with the
then
store. Of
what's
course
the
they want us
purpose-
to take
What's
down.
the purpose of reciprocity then? Is reciprocity not one of your goals? Are you telling the president that we shouldn't seek reciprocity? If that's what you're telling him, why are you trying to do these trade deals?
What do we want? We want to encourage Vietnam to produce products they're great at producing.
But I want to get back to reciprocity. You just said you don't believe in you don't accept reciprocity as a goal. What are you negotiating in these trade deals?
Why would we
then?
open our bank account and
What-
their bank account when
Why are
ours is
you
10 times bigger?
negotiating trade deals? You're trying to get other countries to lower their tariffs and trade barriers in return for us lowering ours. I think
That's true for the things that they'll take from us.
That's called reciprocity.
Of course.
So are you or are you not seeking reciprocity in these trade deals?
We are absolutely seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal.
But you just said
But when they're
that
importing
if a
from
country-
China and sending it to us,
You
they're
just said that
not.
if a country came to you and offered you the ultimate reciprocity, no tariffs, no trade barriers, in return for us doing the same, you would reject that.
Of course, because they buy from China and send it to us. Don't you agree with
Suppose
me?
they said we won't buy from China.
Now we're talking. Now we're
Would
talking.
would
If
you
it was
ex-
Vietnam,
would you accept that deal?
we would consider it. For what things? For
What would
products?
you want to change?
Well, there are certain products we want to reshore. We don't want other people making them. We want to make pharmaceuticals here.
All right.
We need to protect
All right,
ourselves for
let
certain
me ask you
things.
this, because I'm going to run out of time. Are trade deficits, are you advising the president that trade deficits are always bad in every situation?
No.
Okay. When are trade deficits good?
Trade deficits, for instance, let's say there was a company that had the cure for cancer. Let's call it Cancer Cure. And we were buying it and it was located in another country. We would obviously have a trade deficit with them because they have the only one of it. An example, our technology companies, our great technology companies, we're the only ones
So
with
a trade
it.
deficit is okay if they're products we really need.
If they're the only ones with it and we can't do it, then of course it's fine. But if we can do it, then we darn well better think about whether we're supposed to do it and whether we want to do it and if it's in our interest as a country to do
Here's
it.
what I'm getting at. I've heard you say that strike that. I want to I'm running out of time. I want to come back to another subject. Tell me your understanding of the Trade Expansion Act.
I don't have a really good understanding of the term. I may know the act, but I may not know its title.
You're not familiar with the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 that gives the president almost unlimited authority to impose tariffs so long as you conduct an investigation? You don't know about that?
Oh, my 232s, of course I do.
Okay.
Sorry, I just didn't know the title of the plan, but of course I know.
Why didn't you advise the White House instead of proceeding under other statutes? Why didn't you advise the White House to proceed under the Trade Expansion Act?
The president chose IEPA because he could do it swiftly and he could do it sweeping in order to address the underlying problems that had created the $1.2 trillion trade deficit that was haunting the United States of America.
Have you read the opinion in VOS selections, VUS?
I have.
What role does the major questions doctrine play in that decision?
I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to it with that kind of precision. That's a litigation that's under current investigation.
Are you familiar with the major questions doctrine?
not offhand, but I did, of course, read the decision.
Well, about 3/4 of the opinion is on the major questions doctrine.
Again, I tend to not know the title. I know the topic and the details of it, but I tend not to focus on titles. Sorry.
I'm way over. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy, thank you. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. In your exchange with Senator Kennedy, you were talking about Section 232, which is really supposed to be used to help national security, but it is under the jurisdiction of the Commerce Department, as you pointed out, with respect to tariffs. Well, last month I visited a New Hampshire company that makes ball bearings for the aerospace industry, and I agree we should be protecting the aerospace industry in this country. It's our biggest export in New Hampshire, aerospace parts. They were very concerned about the impact of the steel tariffs on their ability to get ball bearings. They said not only has their cost gone up, but the lead time to get the steel to make the bearings, they only have one domestic supplier, while they had suppliers in the Indo-Pacific and in Canada. Those have been eliminated under the tariffs. They said that their lead times have gone from 20 weeks to 2.5 years because of the tariffs. I think this creates a real challenge with respect to our national security. About a good percentage of the work they do is with the Department of Defense. It's in the defense industry. So before expanding these tariffs, did the Commerce Department work with the President to evaluate the impact to our national security supply chain? And have you coordinated with the Defense Department? This is an issue that I've also raised in the Armed Services Committee with the Department of Defense, because they don't seem to be aware of what the impact is on the defense industry of these tariffs.
Of course.
You did consult with the Department of Defense? And,
Of course.
And what was the determination about how you address those kinds of extended lead times for companies that are producing equipment that's critical to our national security?
It's really a cost issue, not an access issue.
Well,
It might
not
take a
according
long-
to this company in New Hampshire. It's an access issue for them.
Well, that would be illogical, since it's just a tariff which is monetary. It's not a sanction. It's just a monetary one. It would be
Well,
more
it affects their
expensive.
ability to get the product, though, to get the steel that they need.
No,
Yeah,
it changes
well,
the price point, meaning if you're trying to buy it cheaper, the idea for the administration
Well, they
is-
don't think, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to tell you what this company in New Hampshire has told me, and that is that their lead times have gone from 20 weeks to 2.5 years. And at that rate, it's hard for me to understand how we can continue to support our defense industry when we don't have the ability to get the supply chain that they need to operate.
The big issue is you can't fight a war without steel and aluminum production in America. You have to be able to make it. If you don't have the ability to make your own steel and aluminum, you can't fight a war. And that is what the president's doing. He's trying to make sure that we make sufficient steel and aluminum to protect our defense
Which
industry.
I
is
certainly
exactly
support.
what you're
I'm
saying.
sure all of us support.
Sounds like we exactly agree.
But I don't agree on the way it's being done, because we're not going to have the steel that we need immediately to provide the supplies that we need immediately. So we need to do a little better planning before we put in place those kinds of tariffs. But I want to go to another
And I
issue.
can explain offline how the steel works, but it goes to a spot price. It doesn't change supply, it just changes price. But we'll go over that offline.
Well,
See, I wanted to address Aussie Johnny's comment here when he says not everyone in the chat likes this. I find it fascinating. Not everyone in the chat likes this because not everyone understands it. It's easy to understand the bombastic stuff. It's easy to understand when you see people doing crazy stuff and the immigration and everything else, because that's the red meat. That's the red meat that the media will feed you. You notice they never show this stuff. Nope. So when you start doing a deeper dive and trying to get your mind wrapped around how this government works, these hearings, and what people say at these hearings really exposes a lot. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see fights at detention centers. Yeah, it's great to see Tom Homan saying we're going to, get rid of this many people. Yeah, it's great to hear that, this happened or that happened. This stuff here, which is dry and is kind of like you have to sit through it and hear it, is what determines what goes in your bank account. See, I've been doing a lot of studying over the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks. And, one of the things that I look at a lot, and I realize not a lot of people pay any attention to. And at some point, what I try to urge people to do is get off of MSNBC and get off of CNN and begin getting on CNBC. Fox Business, Yahoo Business, and start seeing what's actually happening that's going to impact you. So, for instance, let me see if I can get it to fit in the screen here, because it's a long banner. Okay, let me go back up to the top here. This just drops. Trump announces a travel ban affecting a dozen countries set to go into effect. Let's see if I can click into it and we can see it. It's going to go into effect on Monday. This just happened 17 minutes ago. These are the things that you really need to dig into, because now why is this happening? So Trump's going to put it into effect, which they'll go to court right away. They'll be in court probably tomorrow morning. Let's look at what this ban is. President Trump is resurrecting the travel ban policy from his first term, signing a proclamation Wednesday night, preventing people from a dozen countries from entering the United States. Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, I've never even heard of the country, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, I'm sorry, Ilhan Omar is going to be so mad, Sudan, and Yemen. Don't even bother coming here. In addition to the ban, which takes effect at 12:01 a.m. on Monday, there will be heightened restrictions on visitors from, hold on, it jumped on me. Where'd it go? It jumped, okay. All the ads are loading, I'm sorry. In addition to the ban, Monday, there will be heightened restrictions on visitors from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. I must act to protect the national security and national interests of the United States and its people. The list results from a January 20th executive order requiring the Departments of State and Homeland Security and DNI to compile a report on hostile attitudes towards the United States and whether entry from certain countries prevents a national security risk. And it goes on and on. The order, which used to be called the Muslim ban or travel ban, was retooled amid legal challenges till a version was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018. Now, understand that. He already knows. It's already gone to the Supreme Court. You can scream and whine and do whatever you want to do, but it's already been upheld in the Supreme Court. He's just adding different countries to it. This is the kind of stuff I like to watch, and I'm sure it'll be all over the other news as well. But I've been paying a lot more attention to CNBC than to other news, because it's sensational. They're not saying anything. They're just going through these shows one after the other. They're just giving opinions. They're not telling you anything that matters to you. What matters to me is what I look at on here. The kind of stories that I see matter to me. Like if I were to go down, stablecoin issuer, prices $31 a share. So we have an IPO with some more crypto going off. I love this. Musk whips opposition to Trump tax bill. Kill the bill. And you can just see the type of stories here. After Trump pulled NASA nomination, Musk ally Isaac Mann calls politics stint thrilling. Trade war with China drags on. Jim Cramer, which I don't trust, names desirable U.S. exports. And then, of course, if you know today, Jerome Powell did not lower interest rates yet again. pick your news wisely and begin looking at things that actually affect you personally. Yeah, it's nice to hear Scott Jennings slay liberals. It's funny to look at Rachel Maddow and hear him screaming. But what affects you personally, in your pocket? I know there's people who will complain, why do you always talk about money? Oh, it's tired. It's tired. You're looking at a guy in this hearing, and every single person in this hearing, Democrat or Republican, they're all talking about money. They're talking about your money, my money, how it's going to be spent. I'm thinking I'm a little bit more interested in figuring out what these people are going to do and how they're going to do it. So that's why this stuff is important.
Let me just say, the company that I've been talking to in New Hampshire understands how it works. And they have a problem. They don't need you to explain it to them. They know because they've been in business for years. But I want to go to the Manufacturing Extension Partnership because you suggested that this is something that has not kept up with the technology. In New Hampshire, they're doing additive manufacturing, they're doing AI, they are providing additional technology to help those companies. And so I just want to register my support with what the chair, the ranking member, and others have said about the importance of this program. For every dollar invested in 2023, it returned to $24.60 in new sales growth and $27.50 in new client investment. This is a program that makes a difference for companies in New Hampshire. And at a time when we've seen the third straight month of manufacturing decline in the U.S., it seems to me that we ought to be looking at how we can continue to support those industries and support a program that's been working. So I hope you'll take another look at that, and given the bipartisan support for it, that you'll decide that this is something that it's worth keeping because it's helping American companies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You do know that my Office of the Inspector General cited the MEP as one of the most participating in waste, fraud, and abuse because the leaders of these things were just charging huge salaries for themselves. And one of these offices had like a 90% compensation ratio and others had 60. So the concept is right, but I want you to let our department fix the waste, fraud, and abuse, and let's get back to its core elements, which I think are fine. So we're not arguing about the core elements, but you need to do it correctly.
Well, if I could just respond, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that there may be issues and that we should address those, and it would be helpful to have some transparency around that. I can tell you that in New Hampshire, the head of the MEP program is not making an inordinate salary because we watch that carefully in New Hampshire. Thank you.
Yeah, you kind of got touchy about that, didn't you? You see how he exposes these people as like, hey, listen, we're talking about cutting the waste first because there's exorbitant salaries. Notice she didn't give a number because I'm pretty sure in Maine, what that number would be might be considered exorbitant. Maybe not compared to her. Maybe to the people who live in Maine. Let's see. But he dropped the bomb on her, and her whole face turned. It contorted. She didn't like that whatsoever.
Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Nice to see you. I appreciate the review that you're doing in the department over the programs that you have there, and as you try to make taxpayer dollars be spent efficiently. Looking at broadband programs, the broadband funding map continues to be a major priority of mine. The map tracks all federal dollars being used for broadband deployment, as you know. And the goal is to avoid redundant overbuilding and wasteful funding. However, we have had issues with agencies that do not collect or report this data consistently, if at all. By law, NTIA has a key role to collect this data from federal agencies in addition to submitting their own program data to the FCC, which houses the maps. Will you commit to prioritizing NTIA's work to support the broadband funding map and ensure that these dollars are optimized?
Sounds smart, yes.
Thank you. Are there any other areas where you think that NTIA's broadband programs can maximize funding to make sure that they meet the intended purposes?
We are hard at work rigorously pursuing the details of NTIA to make sure it can be the most efficient and effective along the lines that you were discussing about telecommunications, both access and capacity for growth in America.
You and I have talked about the BEAD program in the past, and I know you have your work cut out for you in reviewing that program, especially with all the red tape that the Biden administration created for that program. Do you have any idea on the timing for revising those BEAD program rules?
Yes, so my expectation is we will put out the notice of funding opportunity, the NOFO, shortly. And then we would expect everyone to apply within 90 days. We're going to hold it hard at 90 days, and then I'm going to hold my department firm that within 90 days, if those applications are done without regard to favoring one technology over the other, just make sure we're giving the benefit of the bargain. What's the cheapest way to get broadband to these people, the most efficient way to do it? If they make that application, we will make all awards by the end of this year. So you had the Biden administration sitting on it for 30 months, right? And you're going to watch us distribute the money and get it out the door, provided the applications are, let's say, technologically agnostic. Just do the right thing for the American people. Let's get the broadband to the people for the most efficient way, and we will put out the money.
I'm excited to see broadband deployment take place to areas that receive no service. We have a number of companies in Nebraska that are able to do that through the Universal Service Fund, through the BEAD program, to be able to get that connectivity out to these very sparsely populated areas. There's a vastness to my state as to others here. To be able to have that happen, the mapping, back to the mapping, is extremely important, but also to recognize, I think, the investment that many of these companies in my state and in other states have made and have been required to make. So I hope you will take that into consideration as you look at reaching these unserved areas, primarily unserved areas, that need to be focused on. Will you commit to working with many of us here that face those obstacles in order to make those opportunities available to our citizens?
I'd be delighted to work with you, so I understand your concerns and that we focus on them.
Great, thank you. You have many bureaus and you have many programs to cover in making sure that the department uses taxpayer dollars efficiently. And among these are key grants that support Nebraska's development districts. I was pleased to see that they all received their grant approvals this week. That greatly assists our rural communities across the state. As we move forward, can these development districts rely on consistent communication from the department about their economic planning grants?
Communication should be at the top of our list, so that sounds like an excellent goal and strategy for us to try to achieve.
I appreciate the openness you've had with my office. I hope that continues with all members of the Senate, so that we can work together. You have an important job. You cover many, many, many areas. You have a broad jurisdiction, and it's very important that these things get done and happen in a reasonable amount of time. So I thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Fisher, thank you. I'm going to follow up, Mr. Secretary, and just make a point to your response to Senator Fisher's question about the BEAD program. We have many small companies in Kansas and across the country who've applied for BEAD grants. They've done through their state office.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't have to reapply again, refill out the application that they've spent a lot of time and money preparing and has been filed and approved with the state already. So we certainly need the reforms and changes to the criteria, but there's a very expensive process they've been through once before. So please take a look at how you expect a reapplication. That makes sense?
Yes. Remember, the key point for me is that the American people get the benefit of the bargain, and we're focused on getting rid of the stuff that's not broadband access, so just all that sort of noise and other things. And then literally, as long as the application is technologically agnostic, meaning does it matter if it's fixed wireless or fiber? The answer.
I'm sorry. I just happened to look at a comment here. It's just like, please have mercy, Barry. No more. No more of these people. Oh, where was we? I just happened to, like, some people say, like, Barry, you don't see all the comments, and I'm like, no, I don't see them all. But I did see Mark's comment here, and it just made me bust out laughing. No more. Have mercy. I don't know. I love accounting. I love numbers. I love, the way things are put together, how the sausage is made. So to me, it like really interests me because I can see how bad things are in government and everything else. And just wanted, I thought you guys might get a little excited for it, but you like the red meat stuff. I understand. All right. So that being said, we'll jump to some more content, some more quickly paced content, but we're getting ready to do the jump over. And so those of you who weren't here earlier, let me just tell you now, okay? Let me just lean in here. Can we talk? We're friends. When I go over to the Rumble jump over, my friends at Rumble have asked me to do this once per show. Once per day, just to finish the show over on Rumble. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But there's no way I want it to be burdened, I want to be unburdened, by trying to come up with, an hour's worth of content and drudgery as it's late. And so I decided what we were going to do. I said, Ashley, what do you think about this? And they're like, really? Can you do that? And I asked my wife, I want to do it. And so I decided I wanted to play music. I wanted to lighten things up, let people have a good evening, fun evening, be able to talk and reminisce where we were when this song was on, where we were when that song was on. And I would probably say there's an 85-15, maybe even 90-10 in terms of people who like the idea of playing the music and reminiscing and going back and forth with commentary. And then, of course, we jump into some news as well. I'll end this and I'll talk to you about some other stuff. But there's been a small faction of very vocal people who have a problem with the music. And I just want to say this, and I said it earlier, I'm just going to say it right now, and I'm going to probably put together some sort of montage to let people know when they get over. If you don't like the music, you don't have to watch. If it upsets you, don't watch. If it upsets you to the point where you feel like you have to attack others because they're liking the music, don't watch. I don't want to offend you, but I'm going to play the music. And I don't want to have any of the mods bounce you because you don't like and don't want to hear the music and you hate it so much that you're going to tell other people they're demons because they're listening to it. Many of us grew up in a period of time where things were fun. And I never want to sound like a Democrat telling people they can't have fun, that something offends me. I don't know. I know when I go out there and watch television with Robin, one of the funniest things is with me is every single time that I go out there, and I do mean every single time, Robin will say to me, "You want me to turn the channel?" Because she knows most of the time the stuff she's watching I have no interest in. But I say to her, honey, I'm out here to be with you. I've been in that office for hours and I'm here with you. And because of that, I want her to know that if she's watching The Real Housewives of whatever, I'm going to sit there and watch it with her because I love her. whether or not I like what these women are doing. I may think these women are complete morons. Most of them are. I don't understand why they wear these clothings that make their boobs want to fall off the television screen. I don't know. But I'm there with my wife, so I'm like, you know what? You want to watch these crazy women? You want to see them fighting and arguing? I'm going to sit there and watch it with you. So all I'm saying to you guys is, it's the same thing. It's understanding that we're amongst what I thought was a family that we all, built together and what we wanted to see happen. And Trump won. Trump dances every single rally, every single time he goes to something where it's something that he's feeling loose about. He will absolutely play YMCA, which is a gay anthem. Nobody seems to have a problem with that. You all sit through it, and sometimes you can't wait till he plays it. He has Kid Rock at a couple of his shows. A lot of different things like that. All I'm saying to you is, open your mind, accept that we're going to be doing some things a little bit differently, and deal with it. Or, if you don't, if you don't want to deal with it, don't deal with it. And so, I've got a song that I'm going to play as soon as we open that I'm probably going to make as a theme song for the Rumble Jump Over. And it's going to be straight in your face. And it's by a band. Well, I'm not going to tell you what the band is. Some of you guys may recognize it. Some of you may not. But once you hear it, you'll realize it's directed at you people that want to cause problems. It's directed at you people that want to make life miserable for SV and Roaring Rage and Savaro. Or Ashley. Or Robin if she's on sometimes. Just chill. If you don't like what you're seeing, well, I'll let the lyrics tell you that. All right, so we're getting ready to jump over. Let me go ahead and play the break. Oh, wait a minute. Before I do that, I'm not sure if there is any super chats in this crazy night we had tonight. I almost jumped without acknowledging that. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. SB is probably on his way halfway to, I forget where he's going tonight. He's going to play he loves playing pickleball, so sometimes he's not around to help us out. And then, the trolls come out and everything else. But anyway, just relax. We're going to have some fun. And none of us walk on water, but we can have fun none just the same. All right, Donna, thank you. These people are so freaking old, they leave a dust trail behind them when they walk. They're dead, but they just don't know it. Tilly, thank you. I'm old as heck, but I don't leave my dust trails behind me. I got robot cleaners with me. Tilly, Barry, thank you so much for breaking this down. It was all way over my head. And I understand maybe that's it too. People need to have this in bite-sized, morsels, so we can do that too. America Ramirez, Barry, you have family in California. I pay someone with your last name on my job. Nope, I don't have any family that I know of in California. None of my dad's or mom's people are there. Mr. Anderson, China has mega factories in Vietnam to bypass tariffs. Absolutely. Just another knucklehead. I love this review. I have to leave and we have idiot Dems throwing out trash talk, but this is good. Viking King, like Aerosmith said, let the music do the talking, or AC/DC said, let there be rock. And don't forget laughter. BLS Doom Crew. BLS, I got something for you. Wait a second. I got it. Wait, where's my box? I don't have my box next to me. All right, but I got BLS Doom Crew. I got something special for him. Barry, we love the music. I think you should write down and take requests from your members. My request, Sabbath War Pigs. Oh, bro, you want people to freak out. You want me to put Black Sabbath on. Oh, my God, they're going to come to you and do an exorcism. You realize you want me to play War Pigs by Black Sabbath. After what I've been telling these people. Oh, they're going to have to do anointing and stuff on you. Be careful what you ask for. By the way, it's a great song. And Ricky Bobby, weird pivot, but you invested in DJT Media. And what do you think about their future? I want them to buy TikTok. That would be really neat. Yep. I think there's a merger coming that nobody wants to talk about. It may be Twitter and Rumble. It may be Twitter and DJT Media, but something is going to break with Twitter. Maria Havezda, I am over 80 and don't really like the music, so I don't go to Rumble. I love Barry. See, that's what you need to do. That if you don't like it, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be here. John Owen says, play Glenn Miller. That'll get some reaction. Oh, that sure would. Everybody would leave probably. But I do like some of that old stuff. All right, everybody, we're getting ready to jump over. I'm going to play the golf course stuff, and when you wake up, and I'm telling you the song first I'm going to play. I know I said I was going to play Tears for Fears, but I got to play this song because everybody who comes over who's got an attitude needs to hear this first song. All right, see you there in a second.